Coming fresh off a new unofficial state record, welcome to the wellness pod, Moses Wolfang Mascarenes. I can't imagine how cool it must have been to be called Wolf.
My coach was the one who started calling me Varya, which means wind. Even though I won the first place in my 200 meters, I still pulled my hamstring.
When you look at sprinting or athletics, was it something that you were forced into or did it come by personal choice?
Then the doctors brought me as a baby on the bed. I started rolling from one end to the other end.
How does it feel being the fastest sprinter?
Deep down there, I really feel like I haven't achieved my ultimate goal yet. There's a lot of hunger to go way beyond that of what I'm actually right now at.
What's your mindset going into prep?
I can't be scared of who my competitor is. I'm not thinking about gold, I'm not thinking about silver, I'm not thinking about just winning. I'm thinking about improving my timing.
It's great to have that feeling of a good day. Take me through one of your bad days. Is there a lot of performance enhancing drugs used in your sport?
A lot. The moment I entered the changing room or the washrooms over there, we could see all syringes and everything.
What's your message to aspiring athletes?
Don't stop. Just don't stop.
Hey guys, Kevin here on behalf of the Wellness Workshop, and I'd like to welcome you to the Wellness Pod, the official Wellness Workshop podcast and a place where my guests and I chat about all things wellness. We like to keep it simple but interesting. Myths, truths, fun facts, experiences. Who knows where the conversation goes? That's for us to know and for you to find out. My guest today is Moses Wolfang Mascarenes, Goa's current fastest sprinter, unofficially. As a professional athlete, he's seen his fair share of success and failures. In this episode, we'll deep dive into the life of a top athlete, what he eats like, what he trains like, and of course, the challenges that come with trying to be the best at what he does. This is going to be pretty cool. For now, over to the episode. Coming fresh off a new unofficial state record under his belt, welcome to the Wellness Pod, Moses Wolfang Mascarenes.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on, and I feel that this interaction is going to be brief but exciting. So let's get to it. So coming back to the first time I met you, and I found out that your middle name is Wolfang. I'm not going to lie, I found it pretty cool. Okay, I think you won the lottery in terms of middle name calling, because you know how they sort of give you an abbreviated pet name growing up based on one of your three names, be it your first name, middle name, or your surname. I can't imagine how cool it must have been to be called Wolf. Were you called that as a kid? Was that your nickname?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them call me Wolf, especially in school and all. But then it slowly changed when they came to know I'm an athlete. So my coach was the one who started calling me Varya, which means wind. And so from Wolf it turned to Varya, but I love Wolf a lot more. So yeah.
You've been doing this for a long time. I think you've been sprinting for a while now. When did you start having a passion for sprinting or athletics in general?
So I think it was back when I was in 7th grade. It was one of my classmates who introduced me to this coach who joined my school. And these coaches were actually from Bangalore, Fit Kids India. And he said, you know what, Moses, come, this is a really amazing coach, you need to try it out. And I just went and I tried it out. I tried the training in the morning. It was early in the mornings and I used to go for football before. And then I suddenly just stopped football and just went for athletics. And then that very year when I was in 7th grade, I started winning a lot of tournaments. And I realized, you know what, this is my sport over here. I think I should just pursue more. And since then, like I've been continuous into sprinting itself. Like I haven't even touched the football for quite some time.
How many years has it been?
I can't calculate probably, but then I think it's been around 12 plus years now.
Wow. So you're coming off an unofficial state record.
Yes.
Who holds the current official record, and how do you sort of gauge the unofficial stance of it, and what do you need to do to run the official and break the official state record?
So there is a guy who is not running anymore, but he holds a state record as of now. And
what's the time?
It's 10.7.
Okay.
And for me to break it, I just need to cross 10.7. So my best timing right now is 10.8. And unofficially, the reason it's unofficial right now is because 10.7 was taken on a manual clock. So when you take it on a manual clock, it's not officially done. Now in Goa, we recently started with the digital timing, what we so call it as the fast track timing, or else we call it the fast finish, like chest finish timings and all that stuff. So with that being said, Recently enough, we've been trying to put up in record books and all that stuff. So that's the reason it's still unofficial because if I need to accomplish 10.7, I need to clock it at the national level. And only once I clock it at national level, it will be given back to Goa saying that, okay, you know what, this is your state record. It's officially your state record now.
So when's the next big event for you?
Right now, I'm more focused for the national games that will be held in Uttarakhand. But it's going to happen somewhere in November. So my entire focus is on that. That's one of the biggest national championship. I'm looking forward to participate and do my best in that.
We're shooting this right now on the 15th of September, so you're about a month and a half away. What's the mindset?
I have a very strong mindset. I'm just coming out right now from an injury. I recently participated in a state championship, and even though I won the first place in my 200 meters, I still pulled my hamstring. Like I ran with a pulled hamstring, and it was quite tough for me. But with physio and with a lot of training, strengthening it up again and again, my mind is not just focused on that. I've already missed one or two nationals because of my injury, but my new focus is now for the national games that's going to come up.
I'm going to get into that injury. I think when you explained it to me, that was something pretty cool. I'm going to get into that. When you look at sprinting or athletics, was it something that you were forced into, or did it come by personal choice?
It just came by personal choice, to be honest. I wasn't forced into sports at all. I was very much active even when I was born. Like my mom always reminds me the fact that the moment the doctors brought me as a baby on the bed, I started rolling from one end to the other end. And then she just reminds me every time, she's like, you were active even when you were born, so this is what you're made for. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
The science. I mean, a mother would know, but that's good. How does it feel being the fastest sprinter? Multiple times, I believe.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It feels amazing, to be honest. But sometimes deep down that really feel like I haven't achieved my ultimate goal yet.
Really?
You know, it's just that there's a lot of hunger to go way beyond that of what I'm actually right now at. Because I have my competitors out there, other states and all, who run in 10.6, 10.5 and 10.2s. So my goal is now to compete with them, along with them, and also, give them the competition that they give me back. So
You know, a lot of the
that's
athletes, finally you mentioned, a lot of the athletes when they reach their prime, it goes both, it can go one of two ways. One is where they become even hungrier for the top spot, or they become complacent because they don't feel that the competition can catch up. Where are you on that spectrum?
I think I am at this position where I just want to compete more and more, and give my best shot because I know we don't have the grassroots level training in Goa or whatever scientific training that we require in Goa, but I don't think that should stop anyone from pursuing further what your ultimate goal has to be. So for me, it's just that I have to give. It's one mindset for me that I have to give that good competition that they have given me. So I want to give them the competition back up over there, that level. So yeah.
Now, you've participated in multiple competitions. I'm sure there's a bit of excitement at the end of every race when you cross that finish line. There's no competitor at the side of you. But I'm sure building up to the race, there's a lot of anxiety that comes in with every single race. When it comes to defending your championships, what's your mindset going into prep? What's the anxiety levels knowing that, yes, I have won, but I'm defending my title each time I step onto the turf?
I think I recently faced that for the recently concluded state championship because last year also I won the state championship, and this year also I wanted to defend my title. So ultimately in my head was like to defend that title, that that throne that I built up. And when I was on the track over there, I thought to myself, I just kept myself very focused on giving my best timing. It was not even winning, to be honest. I didn't even think about gold, silver, nothing. I just thought of giving my best shot, my best timing. That's it. And because I reminded myself that I've trained myself for around 6 months to this topmost ultimate speed that I need to give, and I can't back down now. I can't be scared of who my competitor is. So my focus was just on giving the best shot, the best timing. And to be honest, last year we had pretty much a lot of competitors. So we had, for my event, 100 and 200, we had we had the heats, we had the semi-finals, and we had the finals. So after running all three, I clocked 10.8. But this year, I had direct finals, and just in one shot, I clocked 10.8. So there was another thing that I achieved because I believe I came to my senses like, wow, if I can do it in one shot, that means I have improved myself. So with that being said, I also defended my title, and I think I was very much happy at that time. Yeah, even now I'm quite happy about it. But the ultimate thing is like, I just kept my focus on one thing to improve my timing, and that's it. No gold, no silver. I'm not thinking about gold. I'm not thinking about silver. I'm not thinking about just winning. I'm thinking about improving my timing at the end.
It's great to have that feeling of a good day, a successful day where people are like, it's my day, today's my day, good training day. Take me through one of your bad days.
I think I still remember the time when I was training and I was running a lap, and it was in the Fatoda Stadium. So the ground is not well maintained, but we do our best to practice over there. And I remember there was a ditch, a small mini ditch, and my leg twisted on that, and I fell. And even till today, it still hurts for me on the ankle area. And when I run for long distance and all, when we have endurance run and all that stuff, that was like a bad day for me. Like my training from that day did not go that good, for a week. But I don't think that also stops me from running, because even though my body aches every single day, I think it gives me another opportunity to think that I have another day to succeed. So I need to build up on what I have already lost for one day. So even if it's one day is bad, or 2 days is bad, or 1 week is bad, it really doesn't matter for me because I have an ultimate goal to
That's a very
finish off.
interesting take because there's a there's a two-edged sword when it comes to pain, because they say the pain before it's felt physically can also be felt mentally, because even though sometimes a physical pain can heal, there's a mental pain that lingers with regard to an injury or something that has happened that sort of derails you and still acts as a barrier. And that happens with a lot of athletes, not just because it's performance anxiety because you have to be at the best each time, but sometimes an injury sets you back way more. I think sometimes even a fever or like a mild cold or something that sets you back even for a day of training for an athlete could mean a lot, because it's about waking up every single day and being the best version of yourself. And that's how, when they did the study with Usain Bolt as well, he trained consistently for years to occupy top spot, and it was days of waking up early, getting into that grind. And I don't think people realize that 2 days of even stopping that can be such a big setback.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's true. It's true actually, because now even when I got this injury in my hamstring, I had to miss training for my topmost training, like the elite part of my training. I had to miss soon after my tournament. I had to come back to rehab. So I realized I had to miss certain amount of uh, training in such a way that it would affect my future. In a sense, it would affect this year's future, because people really do not realize that even to achieve 1 millisecond, it takes months and months and months of training. Like I said, last year it was 10.8 after 3 trials. This year it was 10.8 after just one trial. It took me more than a year to achieve that cycle. So people really do not realize that fact. And even though you have other things, like maybe like you have these drugs which enhance uh, your performance, but here where I'm clean enough, I know myself that I can do this in 1 year. Then imagine in so many years and in such dedication of waking up early in the morning, going training, and coming back resting, and again going in the evening training again. It takes a lot of dedication for that. So even that one injury that makes you sick or draws you back, like my friend just said recently to me, he said, your injury is never healed completely. It's always still there. And I thought he's talking about the physical injury, but then I understood what he said. He meant to say it's always in your mind. That injury is always in your mind. So it's not about just physically becoming strong. You have to mentally become strong, right? So you have to mentally prepare yourself each and every single day, even after your injury.
you mentioned a very interesting point. Is there a lot of performance enhancing drugs used in your sport by a lot of athletes?
A lot, a lot. I remember the time last year itself I went for this national inter-university national championship that was held in Odisha, and it was terrible. I still remember we didn't have a very good time over there because we had a lot of universities participating all together, but the moment I entered the changing room or the washrooms over there, we could see all syringes and everything out there.
Really?
And the ground is just ahead over there. We also had people from the NADA, we had people from WADA coming in. These are technical terms actually. NADA stands for National Anti-Doping Agency, and WADA stands for World Anti-Doping Agency. So we had these people come in over there, but there was no action taken. Even at the recently concluded last year's national games that was held in Goa, there were people taking drugs over there. We could see it with our own eyes. We went to the washroom, we saw them doing it. People were taking them for tests, but then they would just give them money or maybe just tell them what we are athletes, so this happens. So there's a lot of loopholes in and out.
Wow.
But I think for me, being true to myself and keeping up with that mindset is very important. Like I really do not have to go that path because I know what will happen.
As a natural athlete, though, that must be so frustrating.
It is very frustrating for me, to be honest. And not just for me, even for my teammates in Goa, there's no one who uses it because we've been into the sport for a long time and I know my teammates very well. So none of us we use it. But then when we go out for national games and national championships, we see these people right in front of our eyes. We see our competitors right in front of our eyes taking these drugs. And it does demoralize us, it demotivate us, I would say. But we come with just one thing in our mind is we give our best performance.
Right.
It doesn't matter what happens in the end. So yeah,
it doesn't make sense to me because it just seems like the easy way out when there are people that are working so hard. And as a strength coach, when I've trained national level athletes, it bothers me that it becomes that easy to stick a syringe in your backside and just do it so it's unnerving. They don't care about the repercussions of it, and they don't the doping agencies as well. There's been a lot of cases where they've pulled up a lack of action that is being imposed upon people that actually do take the route of performance enhancing drugs, and it's very sad because what happens is eventually the people that don't use it sort of get into that mindset where if you can't beat them, join them. And then they get onto that train as well, and it's heading towards a pretty negative space in the athletics space and across every sport. And you can't even tell today. They've gotten so refined with the PED usage that they use that some of the drugs that are used, you won't even know if they're doing it or not. And doping agencies, I mean, it's a bit of it's a few notes on the table that can just change their mindset. So I can imagine as a top level athlete who's doing this from scratch, it can be very frustrating, especially because you know how much of effort, as you said, 1 year of work got you 1 millisecond on your best time doing it naturally. And I can imagine that at the back of your head that if you take performance enhancing drugs, it can improve your time drastically, but you should choose not to do that route. When you do see people that do it, it can be incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
The easy way out.
Yeah.
What is a day in the life of Moses look like?
Well, I wake up around 5:30. Actually, about 4:30, to be honest. But
Every day?
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
4:30 is when I naturally wake up. Now I don't even need an alarm to wake me up. To be honest, I randomly open my eyes. I'm like, okay, it's time to move out of bed. But then it takes me around half an hour, at least 45 minutes to get out of bed because I try to calm myself down in such a way that I try to prepare myself for the day, the entire day, because I know I have a long day ahead. By around 5:30, 5:45, I'm out of the house. I travel all the way to Fatoda Stadium to train. So that's around 15 kilometers from my house. And my training starts around 6:15 sharp.
Every day?
Yeah, every day, 6:30, 6:15, till about 8:30, 8:15, something like that in between, or maybe on 9 o'clock. And we have different kind of days. We train, we could train for speed, we could train for endurance or speed strength or speed endurance and all that. After that, once I'm done, these days, since I am pursuing my master's degree in English, I directly go to college because my college starts around 9:30. So my car has basically become my house right now. I have all my clothes over there. And college is from 9:30 onwards till about maybe 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And sometimes when we have evening sessions, so I out and out go for my evening sessions. So I'm not at home at all the entire day. from around 6 o'clock in the morning till about like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Sometimes, yeah. And or else, like if I have no training in the evening, I make sure that at least get an appointment for my physio so I can recover and have some recovery sessions done. So these days I have like a lot of physiotherapy sessions that has been happening in the evening, just to strengthen my leg more. And yeah, I think by around 8 o'clock or maybe 9 o'clock, I'm back home, join the family back again. Sometimes my brother doesn't see my face the entire day when he is busy with his stuff. So then we see each other the next day, even though we're living under the same roof. But I think that's how a life of an athlete is. The amount of sacrifices you make out there, it actually rewards you in the future. So, yeah.
What do you do for fun? Like hobbies?
I'm a nerd. I would say I would just read books. That's one.
Do you like reading?
I love reading.
Okay, lovely.
I love reading. I do read a lot of books, especially. I think it comes with the package of being an English student too, because I I used to not read much before, but then the moment I started like reading a lot of novels on, you know, on life basically. It helped me understand there's a lot of perspective that you see in life. So reading actually gives me that escape route of thinking differently.
Interesting.
Than rather than thinking like how normally people usually think in life. And other than that, yeah, I spend time also maybe singing slightly, bathroom singer, but yeah, I do
Nice.
sing slightly.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, that's what I do, and I have friends who sing along with me and all this. So we just randomly go out, maybe sing sometimes, something like that.
Nice.
So yeah, that's all fun, and we also have we have a farm of our own. We have a huge plantation business. So I spend my time sometimes just wandering around over there, maybe helping my parents out, helping the others out over there, because we have a lot of work going on every single day. So it's fun for me because I'm able to put myself into some kind of work every single day rather than just sitting on bed and like staying idle. Because as an active person, like as an athlete and really born of speed, I think it's very difficult.
Very difficult to stay in one place.
Yeah, very difficult to stay in one place.
Your mind will run if you're not.
I need to move. I need to keep myself moving. So it's a drawback for me when I sit and study, because I at least take something or another with me. And okay, I'll still read something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
What does dedication mean to you? In a simple line, what does dedication mean or meant to you over the last 12 years of competing?
I think, just keeping my mind focused on one thing rather than keeping it two things. A lot of us, a lot of sports persons, we have multiple sports that we play, right? A lot of them ask me, like, why aren't you playing football? Why aren't you, like, playing cricket or something like that? I said, I've just dedicated myself in such a way that it's only athletics, I will play football maybe, but just like that, up and down, maybe very light, very, very light. Not at a very professional level, not even like how people go now for futsal or something like that. Don't even join people for futsal. But I've completely kept my mind focused on athletics. It hurts when I don't do athletics. It's like that. I really feel bad if I don't go for training. I would cry if I don't go for training.
I think that's how you know the passion of...
That's exactly what happens. You realize your passion. You are actually inbuilt for that. So with that, I think it's also keeping yourself very focused on your plans, your day plans. Keeping yourself very active with that and consistent with that, because in a one minor shift, it affects your entire day schedule. So I have a schedule. A lot of people who contact me or who want me to go out with them, I tell them, see, this is my schedule. Please suit yourself into my schedule. I'm not going to change my schedule for that, because I've already dedicated my mind into this thing. If you wanna meet today, okay, you tell me when it is. I will try to put a spot for you. If not, then it's not today. So even when people ask me to come out with go for fun or something, I said not today. It's on some other day. I've already made my plans for today. So I think that's how dedication works for me, because the moment you're focused on one thing, you do not shift your focus from that. I think life sets up in its own path.
We know each other from church, and I
Yeah.
know that you're someone that has told me on multiple occasions that on few interactions that we've had, that God plays a very vital role in your life. Give us a little insight into certain battles that you faced where you knew that God was your only way out of it.
So a lot of times, what happens is in athletics or in any sport, we lack support from people, right? And that can demotivate us a lot. Like we seek validation from physical things, we seek validation from people around us. But as a Christian myself, I only depend on God. I only know that He supports me, and that's enough for me. So even if I don't have my friends or family or my fans sitting in a stadium over there, I know God is there with me. So it gives me this mindset of just keeping myself so close to God's nature, because it helps me understand that without Him nothing is possible, and God has a plan for me always. It's always there is something another. He's always cooking up for me. Even after this injury, I knew the moment I pulled my leg. I'm not kidding. I could not feel anything with this leg, but I knew God was there with me. So the moment I pulled my leg and I gave that, my speed got disrupted, my body was disrupted. I knew only one thing, like God, you'll take me now from here. And I had like about 60 meters to complete with this broken leg.
This is at the recent race.
The recent race that took place.
This is when you pulled your hamstring in the middle of the race.
I pulled my hamstring in the middle of the race. There's the 200 meters finals. I ran about 140 meters, 130, 140 meters, and all of a sudden I feel this pull on my leg.
No way.
And I was in a great lead. And if that pull did not happen, I would have literally broken the record for sure, the 200 meters record too. But then I was not disappointed even after the pool. I told myself, I said, God, you're there with me. I said, God, I said, and I just ran in such a way, and I literally felt something just lift me and put me on the end spot over
You
there.
ran with the pulled hamstring.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very different
Chills,
experience
bro,
for me.
That's
And
crazy.
I think like even that day I realized, like He was still there with me. So I know He was, He is, and He's always going to be there with me. So God's plan is always there. And I think the only thing I have to do is have faith in Him and have that trust built up in Him, and that's it.
What's training like for you? Take us to a session with Moses.
I think one of my the most interesting training session was something known as the Oregon circuit that we do. So what happens is in this case we have different training modes. So you're on the ground. The first thing that we'll do is maybe on spot squats, and there's a 400 meters that we go for, and we have to complete 400 meters at least between 1 minute to 1.5 at least. So that's the timing, that's the goal that we have. So it happens like you run the 400 meters and then again you go do push-ups, and again you go for 400. So push-ups will be like for 45 seconds. You go for 400 meters, and then it'll be maybe jumping jacks after 400 meters. 45-second jumping jacks, go again for 400
That's
meters.
insane.
So we would compete, like we would run 400 meters about 12 to 15 times in just one session. And that too like without any breaks. So in total we would like finish about like 45 minutes of that Oregon session. So I think that was one of my favorite sessions. The other session that I really love is when we go to the field. So my coach...
Like an actual field?
An actual field.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. So during the off-season training of ours, it's one of the worst training sessions we could ever have, but one of the best for me, because we go into this field. It's mucky. It's full of muck. It's like full of water. Like water levels are at least at our waist levels, and we run. That's what we do. We do high knees. We run over there. It's up and down running, high knees. We sprint, and it's continuous. It's non-stop. Sometimes we just maybe we'll have like speed sessions over there, like maybe it's like for 20 meters and 20 meters of sprint sessions, or else it's just going to be endurance, and it's tiresome. It's really tiresome, but it helps a lot. It just builds a lot of strength in your leg. And there was another, and obviously I love gym sessions.
Now, with that level of training, I'm sure that you have a certain nutrition plan that complements your performance because being a coach, I know the importance of nutrition with regard to performance optimization. What's your diet like?
So when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I'll have is bananas, dry fruits, and a cup of coffee. Black coffee is what I go for, and with that, I think that's what helps me with the entire session, morning session for me. I do have intra-workout drinks that I drink, and after that, I directly go for breakfast. Once I'm done, I'm cooled down and all that. I'm changed. I directly go for breakfast. So my breakfast will mostly consist of maybe salads or sandwiches. That's what I go for. More of proteins, I would say, because I really need that. During the day, maybe around like 10, 11, again, I'll have another snack, maybe chicken breast or maybe eggs or something like that. Then again for lunch, I'll have salads, less of rice. I really don't consume a lot of rice, but like a little portion of it. Fish is what I eat, and a lot of veggies, but more also of salads. So I go a little bit more focus on like on salads, and also then again in the evening, if I have evening training, then again I'll have another cup of coffee before training, or I usually go for a snack like maybe a sandwich again, or I'll tell mom like to make something which she loves to make. And after that for dinner, it's more like whatever is there on the table, I guess. Mom loves to prepare good food for after training. So, but I do consume like chicken almost every alternate days because that's what I
So
require.
there's a lot of protein.
A lot of protein intake that I have, and I'll do have like the other supplements that I take. So I have these multivitamin collagen supplements that I
Okay.
consume. Also, I have vitamin D once a week. There's the other supplements that help me for my pain or whatever muscle recovery that I need for. So here and there, I need to apply certain things. I did not get the proper guidance before when I started my career in
Okay.
sports. But then slowly, when people started watching me, like they started like realizing, what this guy has certain. He has a background of running. He has good speed, so I think it's good to support. So when people saw that part of like, of me running, a lot of them approached me. There was recently one company that approached me to do an ad for their protein powder,
Okay.
and mostly like for their protein powder itself. And then they said, what, Moses, we've seen your talent. We want to hire one dietitian for you. It's all on us and all that stuff. I was like, good, that's really good. And right now, even they are planning my diet properly as per my body itself. So it's very good. It's all good in that sense.
As a strength and conditioning coach, I observe a lot of athletes go through injuries, not just in the off season, but in their in season. Have you gone through any? And minus the hamstring tear that you just got, and what's the recovery process through?
Um, right now, I mean, I've never been through any kind of like major injuries like this before, even during training or even during competition. But this is like the first time I got this during competition, during my peak session. And right now, what's happening is a lot of physio activities on my leg. There's dry needling, and there's myofascial therapies and tense therapies and all that stuff that's happening. Because what happened to my hamstring is it just went in this very protective spasm, so it's become very tight in one area, and when you go to loosen up the other area, the next area gets tightened up. So it's not answering to my body the way it has to answer. So they say it's going to take time, but what happens is when you go for recovery, you actually need to completely set yourself in such a way that you do not exert your leg. But as an athlete, I have to exert my leg, and it's completely the opposite. So I need to take another route where I keep myself also fit enough to make sure that I'm able to run for the next championship, but also make sure that my leg gets recovered simultaneously. So physio goes on, strength training goes on for this hamstring. But other than that, I think the minor injuries, I would not say injuries also, but the minor aches that I get is something on my Achilles tendon, and also on my shin bone on the left side because of that first injury that I got while training, and the other one is on my back because as we develop our strength, we require to lift heavy weights, right? So that's one thing that actually happens. And I think sometimes it also a physical mistake that I make of not cooling down properly. So that leads to certain injuries here and there, minor things. But I think this all comes with a package because
Been there, felt that.
yeah. So learning from my mistake itself, I keep trying to improve myself. So now cooling down has become a very vital, important part of my routine. So I make sure that I'm completely cooled down before I start with my other activities. So
In the coaching fraternity over years, what they've said is recovery tools like your massage guns and your therapies, they're great. They're good, but they're not at the bottom of the tier. And when you look at the foundations of recovery, it revolves around two things: good sleep, a good environment, because stress also plays a huge impact, a good diet, and the most important would be load management. And this came as a surprise because people are, what do you mean by load management? And in coaching, we have a term called periodization, where when you work with an athlete, you work across multiple seasons, where you have your pre-season, you have your camp, you have like a sports and role specific phase, and you have your tapering phase towards the competition. Then you have a transition where you're just taking time off to recover, because it's mental and physical that you're recovering from.
yeah.
And during your off season, your pre-season, your in season, the three macro phases, you have a lot of load management that has to take place. You cannot just train the same load through and through. And I think a lot of people get injured simply because the demands start to accumulate over a period of time. And when you don't manage load well, you start to excessively hurt your tissues. And that is what they say is the foundation of recovery, is to just manage your load across seasons. In the off season, you have more time to give towards strength training. Even if you get injured, you have time to recover, but you can't do that in season when you have your competition at hand. So that's when you need to learn to taper loads and train more towards functionality rather than just strength.
Exactly, yeah.
And going deeper into the research, I think it makes more sense because we just feel that with that performance, you just want to load all the time, and it may not be optimal for the athletes. So I get where you're coming from when it comes to injuries with regard to strength. And very few strength coaches actually know this because they just feel like there's a domino effect to it. That they just feel like they can keep loading weights because, okay, my athlete gets stronger, so I can just give them more weights, right? But there's an implication as to when you need to execute certain movements with certain loads in order to directly impact the performance of your sport. And there are certain sport specific movements that you have to involve as well. So the entire industry is changing more towards tactical roles that coaches now play towards developing athletes in a very specific manner. I think that's something that every sporting field in India is now seeing, because the caliber of coaches as well right now is a lot better.
Yeah.
So understanding these principles of load management and recovery tools is getting very important. We just had a podcast with a physiotherapist, and he told us that the therapies are like putting a bandage on a wound, but you have to let it heal on its own. And prevention is better than cure. Not get the wound in the first place. The thing is, we get the wound and then we want the recovery tool to sort of patch it up, and then we get hurt again. But his advice was, why get hurt in the first place? Just practice foundational recovery tools and you won't get hurt in the first place. And that made a lot of sense from a macro standpoint.
Yeah, it's very true actually, because even my coach, I've noticed his training has changed a lot with regards to strengthening. Because when I started training with him professionally, there's a huge difference to what I am right now, the kind of training I'm receiving right now, because he has finished his new level of training with AFI, that's Athletics Federation of India. So they have really well advanced training system of theirs, and he too has said the same thing what you said. There's a difference between how you train in off season, there's a difference between how you train in season, and also there's difference between when you go for transition periods. So we cannot give the same kind of load that we give for off season when you're in competition season, because that will basically just put you all off the track. So it makes a lot of sense when you said that we have to prevent the injury as much as possible, because rather than like just putting a bandage over it and just like trying to recover from that, because recovery is another slow process and it takes a lot of time, and we don't have time with us most of it, right? So the best way I think so is to prevent the injury from happening. And how do you prevent is when you have the knowledge of your strength training exercise, or your cooling down workout routine, or also your warm up routines. So you need to have that. What I feel is that you need to have those knowledge in the first place, because that will help you initially to build up that platform for yourself. So yeah.
Does Goa have the infrastructure to develop top level athletes?
As of now, they don't, but I really wish that they start with something. As of now, like in today's times, Odisha is the most advanced and also developing state with regards to sports. They have top-notch scientific facilities provided for them. Uh, that's basically where I went for two nationals in Odisha, and both these nationals were around the same area. One of the nationals that I participated last year was at that very facility, and they have for all sports. And when I had gone over there, they built India's first and Asia's largest indoor track with advanced system that the track itself can calculate how much speed you're running for, or like what is your scientific speed in that, right? So that's very well advanced, and I think by the time it comes to Goa, it's going to take a lot of time. But I really, really wish that Goa does push itself into sports in such a way that it's not only for football, but it's also for athletics that's given more priority, because what happens is right now the record holder, this national record holder, is training in Odisha, in Reliance facility. So Reliance Foundation, they have this top-notch facility of theirs in Odisha, and I think it's all on that. What kind of facility you're being provided, right? The infrastructure. Take example. If I talk about Goa, you have two tracks in Goa. One is in Pedem and one is in Bambalam. Very, very, very logical thing that I came up with, but then we noticed as an athlete, we noticed is before the national games, both the tracks were demolished to prepare for the
Upcoming
national
competition,
games,
right.
right? But it wasn't very necessary to demolish both the tracks, because we as trainees, we wanted one track so that we could go and train.
Get used to it.
Yeah, and get used to the track. So we had camp season of ours, and during the camp, most of the camp which started for us, it was around this time in September month itself that started. So September and October we had like 2 months to practice. So entire September we were training in Fatoda Stadium ground, on the grass ground. But what we actually required is some sessions on the track itself. But then the track was being developed over here, apparently. So, in Pedem, they demolished that and they did not work on it like at all. So we didn't have any track to work on. It was only, I think, around 20 to 15 days before the tournament could start, before the national games could start, that we were taken to the ground. And that it wasn't even the entire 400 meters ground, it was a 200 meters warm up track that we were practicing on for a national championship. So it basically just shows the level of understanding, like, people in authority over here have, because I don't think if it's such a mindset where it's only about making profits for yourself, but just because you're sitting in a position of authority, I don't think there'll be any kind of development ever in terms of sports. If you think with the perspective of athletes themselves, then I think there could be changes. But
There's a clear lack of consideration from our higher authorities towards the significance of sport.
exactly, yeah.
And this, I don't just think it's limited to the state, I think it's limited in the country, but more so for the state, because we can speak directly, is that infrastructural development towards harnessing the capabilities and talents of athletes is very marginal. Like most of our indoor stadiums in multiple, I would say 9 months of the year, would be used for trade shows and stuff that promote marketing events and tourism events, when they're supposed to be used as stadiums to facilitate the talents of athletes. So there's a clear gap in understanding what we can do for our athletes. And the worst part is that there is so much of talent in Goa across multiple fields of sport, but there's a lack of infrastructure. So people who are trying to get better at football are now practicing on the beaches. Of course, with football now, because of the Indian Super League, there are a few grounds that are being developed and stuff like that. But for people that need access to cricket stadiums, there are permissions. When you need a hockey stadium, there are permissions. A lot of people don't have accessibility to free facilities that they can use, which are good. So they'll have to settle for second best, and then we celebrate the few athletes that make it out of Goa that do really well, because maybe they have the money and they have the ability to access better facilities. But what about the people that don't? Talent is something that, you don't have to be born in a rich family to have talent. It can come to even a rag picker's son who wants to be a representative for hockey national tomorrow, but he doesn't have the facility. So how is he supposed to get better?
Exactly.
And that is something that we faced really badly with authorities, because we've not really been pushed and shoved into an infrastructure that supports the growth of athletes. But other states in the country have not just infrastructure, but they have government grants that are given towards developing them as athletes. And I feel that there's a major gap that we need to level up.
It's quite saddening, because even when as an athlete we notice that there are now, by this time, at least by today, we have 2 tracks in the north. We have in Bambul and we have in Perem. But what about the south? I'm from the south, and I feel neglected completely, because there is no trek. Every single time when we train, we have to travel all the way to Bambulam, right? We spend our own money, we travel. And if you look at the statistics and the results of all the championships, the state championship that was conducted over the years, a lot of medal winners in track events are from South Goa. A lot of endurance runners, like for 10,000 meters, for 5,000 meters, 800 meters, 1,500 meters, all these winners are from South Goa. You have people coming from Kankona. They are very good with endurance.
That's very far.
Yeah.
That's pretty far.
That's pretty far, right? So imagine traveling all the way from Kankona to Bambulam.
That's crazy.
And then you have people coming from Sangay. They also are very good with endurance. And then you have people like from Kepem and Margao who are there, all good in track events. But we don't even have a single track in South Goa.
I mean, for the audience that doesn't really know these places, I mean, that's what, upward of maybe 30, 35 kilometers just one way?
More than that.
More than that.
It's almost like around 50, I would say.
That's
from
intense.
From Kankona to Bambulam.
That's one way.
Yeah.
That's intense.
So 50 kilometers here and then 50 kilometers go
That's
back
crazy.
traveling. So it's crazy.
And you all don't get any compensations for travel?
We don't. We try our best to speak to our authorities about that, but all deaf ears.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest hurdle that athletes in the state have faced and will face. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it improves.
Fun fact, I'm still waiting to be paid for the national games that I participated for. We were told that we will be getting our camp allowances, but it's already a year now. So no camp allowances yet.
The government owes you money for representing the state. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's quite shameful, actually.
Because all this time, like even with the national championships that I participate now, what happens for me is that there's a very handful of athletes who are actually qualified the qualification standard set by AFI. So I'm one of them. Actually, there are only 2 of us. There's me and another girl who's training with me, with my coach. And the others are there because they're very close to the qualification. But it's only just me and this girl who has crossed the qualification for the past 2 years. And whenever we travel for nationals, especially me, I spend my own money for my travel, for my accommodation, for my food, and even travel in and outside the stadium, from my hotel and the stadium. And till today, I've never compensated for that, even though I keep pleading them, I keep asking them. But once I also think that shouldn't stop me from pursuing what I have to pursue, right? Even though it's kind of tough when you see it's all about money, one side. But I think what keeps me up is that I need to accomplish one goal of mine, at least baby by baby steps. So it doesn't matter what life puts in front of me, you just have to do it.
I mean, this is exactly what we spoke about, is that there's a clear gap in provision from the government to even support, and it only boils down to those athletes. Like, I know from athletes that I've trained as well, it's the few that have the ability to compensate themselves, saying that, you know what, if the government doesn't do it, I will do it, but I want to get there, because they don't want to squish their own talent. but there's the other half that just don't have the money to do it. And even though
Exactly.
they're so talented, they then settle for a government job.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you know what, it's not going to fund me. And I've seen so many athletes over a period of time just give up their craft. Potential leaders of the state in terms of their sport, like represents. And they're just like, you know what, we don't have the money to do it. Parents have said that we don't have any hope in this. They're getting fed up as well because they're not earning money. We're not supported by the government either. We're not recognized by the government either. So might as well just get a paying job, a 9 to 5. And I think that's just a really, really sad state. And then we wonder why we don't have representatives at Olympic levels.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like we've not seen Goans at a very high level in terms of competing sports, and it's probably because we don't have the infrastructure. I'm sure we have the talent.
We have the talent.
But we don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And it just shows. But we'll digress because again, it's a losing battle here. But I remember this is something pretty funny. Okay, I remember you telling me that you could smash a 100-meter sprint, but you'd have to get killed to run a 5-kilometer run. And I found that quite funny. But I feel like I'm the same. I can never do like a long distance. I'm someone that just likes to run fast. But is that like a disparity that sprinters have where they can't do long distance running?
I know pretty much a lot of sprinters myself, like who they cannot run. They cannot run long distance because it's like the worst enemy for them.
Right.
So endurance sessions for me, endurance training is one of my worst training, I would say, because I would rather kill myself than doing that workout. But end of the day, again, we have to think about it, right? It's like you have to do it to achieve something else. So we do make sure that my coach makes sure that if it is, because for me as a sprinter, yeah, I can run like 100 meters 20 times. Give me that, I'll do it. 200 meters 20 times. Give me that, I'll do it. These are all my off-season workouts. 400 meters. Oh my god, no! Even the 12 times that we have to run for our Oregon circuit, it's like, no, I cannot. So let alone 400 meters running around like around 10 times. Imagine 5 kilometers for me. No.
But it's funny you mentioned that because there is a scientific theory behind this adaptation, and it's even Usain Bolt during his prime never ran anything more than I don't think he ran more than a kilometer in his life, simply because there's a certain adaptation protocol that comes with what you train in specificity.
Exactly, yeah.
And when you train for 100 meters, you're training for 100 meters. Your body adapts to the force production requisites. Your muscles will sort of get trained into what they need to produce force to achieve that outcome. So you train beyond that. You're making adaptations that are not conducive to what your sport actually is. So a marathon runner will not train like a sprinter. A sprinter will not train like a marathon runner because they're built for two different functions. So while that was a funny thing at that moment, there was a scientific principle as to why you wouldn't like that. Is because it doesn't really translate to something better. From an endurance standpoint, yes, you do have to train endurance as a trait, so I understand why your coach implements it. But from a specific standpoint, it is an adaptation that can deter you from actually becoming good at sprinting alone when you train for higher levels of endurance. So I get that. Same. I read a very interesting quote from a gentleman named Aldous Huxley, and it goes like this. There is only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that is yourself. What do you do to keep getting better even though you're already at the top spot?
Well, I think what I remind myself every day is that I'm my only competitor, so I need to beat the past self of me. So I wake up every day, every single morning, and I think, you know what, I need to be better than my yesterday. Because when I'm on the track, like as the only fastest man in Goa, with literally no competitors next to me in Goa, I realized that I'm the only competitor I have now. My mind is the only competitor I have. So, when I got this injury, there were a lot of thoughts of giving up. Completely.
Really?
There was, to be honest. I mean, that's your mind. That is the mind. That's how the mind works. And I realized about that. But there's this one quote that I go up with. I've been doing it ever since 7th grade, actually. Ever since I started athletics. And it says, it goes like, don't give up, don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. And even though it rhymes, I love the way it rhymes. There's a very deep meaning for it for me because what I see is when I don't give up on things, right? When I keep pursuing it, keep working on it, um, I'm able to achieve something that I've never dreamt of achieving. Now, what I believe is we are victims of perspective rather than being victims of circumstances. So,
That's deep, man. That is deep. Wow.
yeah, like
Whoa.
take for example, like you have one person, he's going through a lot of mental trauma or maybe like physical trauma, like pain or whatever, but he decides to work on himself. He sees life in a different perspective. He sees it in a very different way. He wants to work for it because he knows he can achieve something.
True.
Whether or not he likes what he achieves, but he can achieve something way much better than what current situation is. But take, for example, another person going through the same kind of mental trauma, same kind of mental situation or physical situation, but decides, so you know what, give it up. Like, let life do what it wants to do against me. It's all in perspective.
I
Your
think
circumstance will be same.
that's where we drive how success is defined very differently across your emotional, mental, and physical state. Because for someone that's going through an injury, every single day that you feel a little better on your feet becomes successful.
Yeah.
At the top level, emotionally, it could be where you've overcome a really bad day over your emotions, said, you know what, despite having a bad day, I made it to the gym. And as you've so nicely said, it's a matter of perspective. Same with success, same with defeat. You could be at the top spot and people be like, you're currently the state record holder for the sprint, but yet you consider every day of not going to the gym a defeat. So you could live a little bit. And you notice this across people that are very successful in their life is that they don't have rest days when it comes to their work because they're too scared in terms of their perspective. They're too scared with what a bad day would look like for them because they're so success oriented that every day has to result in success. And you look at the top seeds and you realize that it wasn't one day, it was an everyday attitude of success that they defined for themselves that then got them to the top spot. You're just looking at the accumulated effect. It's like throwing a small snowball at the top of a hill, and when it reaches back down, it just gets bigger and bigger. That's called a snowball effect. And that works very similarly with the amount of effort you put in and the way you define success for you. And people tell me, why are you so relentless with your work? It's fine to take a day off. But then a day off to me is not what a day off to them is. You know, you then have so many bifurcations in your day. You have so many things that sort of hinder you. And what your mindset is conditioned to see success as could be very different across multiple people.
Exactly.
So I completely understand what you
But
mean.
also, one thing that I also go with is that sometimes you do have to taste defeat or taste the rest rather than swallowing it completely.
That's
You
cool.
know, because without that taste, you will never know where you actually stand. You will never be able to improve yourself. Because for me, that's what happened over here. I tasted injury. I've never been injured before. I've tasted it, and I know how it is to live with an injury, but also keep improving myself. So it makes you more stronger. You will never be. I don't think any top athlete out there, like even Bolt, has ever not had an injury or ever not lost. He has lost tournaments. Like he has made a false start. I've seen those videos. So it is a defeat. It is that taste that he got. But actually that makes him more stronger the next year. Right? So you need to taste something rather than not tasting it at all. Right? And what I also feel is that we need to surround ourselves with people that help you achieve something greater, right? So it's not only about like keeping your mind so focused on thinking like, you know what, I should not give up, I should not give in, and this and that. But your friends play an important role. The people around you, environment that you build, the connections that you build, that plays an important role for you. Yeah.
I think environment is a very, very important thing. If you're surrounded by people that support your goal, it'll be very easy. On the contrary, if you have a group of people that negatively support your goal or are very distracted with their goals in life, you are the average of the 5 people that you are with. Right?
Yeah.
So you're always going to be sort of impacted by them, whether you like to admit it or not. It may not happen in obvious state, but some things will translate. So environment is very important. And I think as an athlete, separation is very important. And it boils down to the first 2 minutes of this conversation that we started with, where sacrifice plays one of the most important roles. where they state that the effort that takes place to be a success behind closed doors then rewards you publicly. And I think that's something that's so crucial, because it's not every day that, we look at the greatest athletes in public image and they are being celebrated by millions of people for the wonderful things that they can do, but nobody looks at, if it's a basketballer, the amount of times they've gone to an empty stadium and just done 5 to 6,000 shots at that ring just to get better at what they do. They're celebrated over one shot that goes into the hoop,
Yeah.
but they don't know about the 5,000 shots he did. I don't think anyone knows the amount of times you've woken up at 6:15 reluctant, maybe it's raining outside, or you've had like a bit of a fever, but you've said, you know what, I'm going to get to that field. They're all there in the stadium when you win the 100 meters and you cross that ribbon or whatnot, and you're there taking the trophy and then celebrate your wins. But I think you're celebrating a lot more knowing how many times you had to accomplish that in your private life to get there when nobody was watching. I think that's where the greatest definition of success is.
I think I'll say that, I have very few people who know about this thing. One is obviously my teammates who know what it is to sacrifice so much and achieve so little in such a huge time. It takes time. So you sacrifice a lot and you achieve this much, but it's one step ahead. So it's never a very direct achievement. Maybe one day life will gift you one big achievement, but you don't stop even at that big achievement, right? So my teammates, and also I have these two best friends of mine who know every single thing about me, and they are the ones who give me the support that I require, because obviously I have my parents do support me completely in this field, but parents also, they have their own work, they have their own life to handle off. But I think as youngsters we have friends that we require, right? So teammates are there, and then we also have these two best friends of mine, both of them, Samuel and Risa, and I thank them. I would really thank them for boosting me up every single time, because like I said, when you surround yourself with people, like-minded people who vibe with your same energy,
Right.
that's where you see yourself like successful. You move up and up and up the ladder because they are the ones who pull you up too.
True.
So yeah.
What's your message to aspiring athletes?
Um, I would say if you're starting, don't stop. Just don't stop. I've seen people stopping and it hurts me. I don't know why it hurts me when they start and they just stop. Even my seniors who started before me, they stopped, they've moved abroad, or they've focused themselves more on other goals. And I think that's very common to see in Goa or anywhere, any part of the world. You start and then all of a sudden you just stop.
Why do you feel that is?
I mean, there are multiple reasons I feel, but
Is it always just financially?
no, I don't think it's financial issues always.
Something deeper.
I've seen people with lots of assets, lot of wealth, stopping, and they just give up on sports, or they just give up on athletics. And I really don't feel it's finance, to be honest, because a few years ago, before I could be declared as the fastest man of Goa, there was another guy, right? So he was financially well off, dude, and when he stopped, and when I came to know that he stopped, I thought to myself, like, it cannot be just finance. Obviously, he's rich. He has that support of his. But then what could it be? And then I realized it's all in the mind. Your mind is a very different organ than the rest of your body.
Very true.
It's the most dangerous yet the most beautiful organ, to be honest. Right? It has both negative and positive. And sometimes you really don't know where to put your leg in, because you do need the negative, not that you do not need that, because the negative also helps you understand the perspective of the positive, right? So even imagine you just stay in positive, you'll never know how to move up the ladder. So you need that step to move in. But a lot of times what we do is, like I said, this particular athlete, my previous competitor, I think what got to him was the negativity of his mind, and that made him stop. So for all the ones who are aspiring now to be good athletes, better themselves off, every single day, or at least come and be as a competitor for me. I would say just don't stop. Don't ever stop. My goal right now, my future goal, like the final goal for me, is to run even when I'm 80, 90, or 100 years. Just keep running. That's one thing. Just be active as much as possible. But if you're starting now, start and don't stop. That's all I can say.
Very interesting. I think that it's about finding the ratio of where the positives push you to get better, but the negativity in your life, depending on how much you can absorb, there's always a learning curve that comes with a negative instance in your life. Like it humbled you when you tore your hamstring because it was an injury that you faced for the first time.
Yeah.
Other people could have taken that very wrongly, but you chose to use that as a learning curve and get stronger from it. And I think it's a balance that people have to get in where the negativity humbles them so they know that they're not being floated up like a hot air balloon, but the positives push them enough to say, you know what, I have it in, I can still push, I can still do it. And the longevity of that balance is what drives you as an athlete. And I think it just boils down to the day where you say, you know what, I think I've had my fill, I can now step aside and now do this for fun rather than do this for competition. Because it's very easy to say that you're the fastest sprinter, but I don't think anyone knows the sort of anxiety and the mental battles you have to do every day to. It's, in a year of 365 days, you run one day, but you're training 364 days.
Yeah, it boils down to this one fact. Actually, I always remind myself whenever I'm on the track, and especially like during my competition days, I I remind myself that I've practiced for, let's say, 6 months with off season, on season, or maybe like in season, and then maybe like competition phases that we have. But for 6 months, I've practiced so much just to run in 10 seconds. Just to run in 10 seconds for 6 months, every single day, waking up early in the morning around 4:30 in the morning, going for training, working out for 2 hours, or let's say in a day you work out like for 4 hours, morning, evening. I have to do that, right? And then also accomplish the other task that I have during the day. But then it all comes to just running for that 10 seconds. And it's when you think in this very macro perspective, you see that it's not a joke at all. It just it it leaves me in this place where I just think to myself like, how am I able to achieve this? How am I able to do this, right? And not a lot of people get this idea. Not a lot of them get this perspective of seeing it in this way because it's very difficult in a layman's eyes, it's like, oh, he just ran the 100 meters in 10 seconds. It's pretty easy maybe for him. Or maybe he did work out for that, but then they actually do not see the backstory and the sacrifices and the dedication, the pain that we go through every single day. So yeah, just to run once or maybe twice or thrice in a day, it's
That's crazy.
it's crazy. It's huge.
Moses, thank you so much. That's all for this episode. He's not an easy man to catch up with, as we've clearly seen, but we're going to link his IG details in the description below so you can catch up with his race to be the best. But thank you so much for your time, your stories, the success and the failure. But as for completing your best time, we wish you the best of luck as the unofficial record holder for the state of Goa. But saying that, our time is up, and that's a wrap for this episode.